welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to this event tonight about indie film financing and producing. We are excited to be here, and thank you to all of our panelists. This is really a treat for us. It's great to have Jerren, one of our very own, on a panel, and to see a lot of you again and to meet the ones that we don't know. We are all in for a real treat. I'm Molly. I don't know if I said that. I'm the Director of Operations for the ISA. If you're new to us, we've been doing 1 to 2 events every week. So please do check out our events page to find out what's coming up next, which actually is tomorrow. We're doing a third Thursdays event, and we've got a couple of really awesome guests, so please check it out. And I am really not going to say much else because I think we have a ton of material to get through today. So Ryan, you all set there? Okay, I'm going to hand it over.
I was like doing like a Zoom thing here, and okay, it's done. I'm good.
Indie filmmaking.
Indie filmmaking at its best.
Right now.
Yeah, and so we really think as a writer, it's a fantastic thing to do to be a part of a production. If you have the opportunity to produce something on your own, do it. Take advantage of every opportunity you get. You will be a better writer for it. Your writing will be more informed, and you'll understand what happens on the other side of the camera and what goes into making your script come to life. So that's part of the reason we wanted to bring this to you. Some of you probably already are doing that. You're already filmmakers, and you'll learn some new tips and tricks perhaps tonight.
I'm Shayna. I'm the Manager of Production and Research at ISA, and I'm going to co-host this with Jerren. And Jerren, take it away.
Hi, I'm Jerren. I'm the creative executive at the ISA. I also was fortunate enough to be able to write with some co-writers and direct the first feature film. We also just got picked up for distribution. I know, congrats to everyone on here. We're not allowed to talk about that. That will be announced later. We will probably do another one of these closer to release where it's just, bring on even more of the cast and crew and stuff. For now, what I wanted to do is come at this from a writing perspective. I'm someone that had 0 connections when I started out, and everything that's happened is because of querying and hard work and messing up because I'm an idiot and all that good stuff. Yeah, we sold a script and got to direct this film back in October. I'm going to do by way a quick introduction, and then we'll get back to everyone later on. These fabulous cast and crew, we have, of course, Ryan Francis. He has a long history in Hollywood. You might know him from Hook or Sisters. We have Morgan Alexandria. It says Morgan Williams on her screen, but Morgan Alexandria, fabulous actor in her own right. Morgan, did you want to say anything, quick hello or anything?
Hey guys, yes, I'm Morgan Alexandria, and I play Imani. And stay out of that effing attic. And I've done a lot of cool things. You can catch me on a lot of cool shows. This Is Us. I just did something on Lena Way's show, 20s, and more and more and more to come. So a lot of fun things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Brian Sowell, fabulous director of photography, who's mostly done stuff in the horror world, but just did his first pilot for Adult Swim, and his camera operated on a bunch of stuff that you know and have seen, like Last Man on Earth, and what else, Brian? Sorry, I'm talking for you.
I did a few days on a lot of stuff. I bounced around a lot to try and leave myself open to shoot. But This Is Us, tons of movies, Pop Star. I can't now. There's so many of them. I don't know.
You were just doing the Netflix sports show too, right?
Oh yeah, Last Chance U. My friend Terry Zumalt shoots that. We went to college together, so on days that they have games, it's tons of cameras. So I would go to be on a long lens and just shoot down the court, which was great because you just sit there and watch the basketball game. This one was a basketball game. Previous ones were football games, nice. Which I don't know anything about. So I just
perfect. Great. And then we have the fabulous Meg, production designer on the film. And Meg has done a bunch of production design stuff out in Salt Lake City, Utah. if I'm not mistaken, Stay Out of the Fucking Attic was your first feature film, right? As well as mine.
First feature film. I mean, not first one that I worked on, but first one that I got to design.
That you were the head of the department.
Head of the department, yeah.
And we're going to talk all about how cinematography worked with production design and how all it mixes together, and what a fabulous job both Brian and Meg did. Can't say enough about all of these people on screen. So I think Shayna's got a few icebreaker questions, and then we're going to get into some deep dive discussion with Ryan. And then I have some, what I want to do is give you some writing tips on what we implemented that really worked for us to get your films financed, get it out to producers looking for this stuff. So Shayna, take it away.
So we'll just do a couple two fun questions for you guys, just to get to know you outside of this project. And we'll start with Ryan, but what are you guys watching right now? I know it's been, you've been quarantined at home. What are you guys watching? What's your favorite thing on either TV or on, that you're watching? Ryan.
I just got addicted to and completely smashed through 20 episodes of Succession on HBO with Brian Cox, and just Kieran Culkin just plays the most, I don't even know, he's just so devious and weird, but he's so good. I just got hooked into the writing and to the acting, and yeah, it's just a really solid cast. Kind of reminds me of a corporate Game of Thrones. It's after every episode, I'm like, what?
I know
what is going on with these people? Who are these people? So yeah, that's been my jam for the last few weeks.
Awesome. Morgan, what about you?
So I got into Ozark, which I'm super late, but it's such a good show. And I think it kind of gives that whole thing too. It's just, first of all, I love the world and the characters once they get to Ozark and how they are. And then just how you're on the edge of your seat after every single episode. All the characters just have so many colors, and I'm literally waiting for I binge watched in 2-3 days 5 seasons. Literally, I kid you not. I was next one and next one and next one. I was like, this is so good. Plus I love country people, so that's just my jam. Yeah.
All right, Brian, what about you?
I was binging The Wire for a while. I got to season 4 and had to take a break. And I also got that book. God, I can't bring it. Oh, never mind. But
you got a book.
There's a book. It's like a book of every
Harry Potter
film. And so I was working my way through that.
It was a book of what?
Bergman films.
Oh.
Criterion put out 50 movies or something, all his movies.
Oh,
so I'd watch a Bergman film, then I'd watch The Wire, and I did that for about 2 weeks.
And then your brain was just
yeah.
Okay. Meg, what about you?
I honestly watch Seinfeld and I cannot stop ever.
Wow.
I know that there's so much stuff out there, but every time I feel like watching an episodic thing, I'm just Seinfeld, duh, of course. That's all I want to watch.
You always go back to the classic one that makes you laugh, right? Yeah.
I saw Good Will Hunting for the first time over quarantine.
Amazing.
Loved it.
Yeah.
So good.
It's a definitely sleeper film, right? Not many have heard of that one.
I saw that with my dad in the theater, and I remember he's probably watching, and he was crying so much when we came out. I was like, oh my God. At the It's Not Your Fault. It's Not Your Fault part. Good movie.
Guys, do you want to know what movie I cried when I came out of?
What?
Armageddon.
For sure.
Oh. Sobbing.
Yeah.
Me and my friend were like, oh, we're so embarrassing.
I cry every time that song comes on. I mean,
I'll play it later.
It's on the radio, I start bawling.
Jerren, what are you watching?
Oh, we can.
You want to skip it?
Yeah, just because we got so much to get through.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do one more. What was the film or TV show or something that you guys saw and when you were kids that was the thing that resonated with you that made you want to get into the industry of filmmaking or acting? Who wants to start? Morgan?
Probably 2. So I loved watching Mary-Kate and Ashley, and I really couldn't figure out how they were in the screen, and I was trying to figure out how I could get in there to do exactly what they were doing. And then they were just like so cute. They always had like the fashion, and then they like, you know, we just related on like issues. But then on top of that, I was like a cheerleader forever. And so Bring It On came out, and that was, I was like, this is what I want to do. For sure, I want to do this. Like, 2 great movies. And then, I mean, there's so many other things. I was such a weird person. I know we're supposed to make this short, but like, I literally used to love like all of the old shows, like Gilligan's Island, Black and White. I used to love like Three's Company. I used to love like Good Times and all of that stuff. So yeah, all that stuff made me like want to get into it.
Awesome. Ryan, what about you? Besides being in it.
I mean, honestly, like this is like a question because this is literally, there is a moment that I specifically remember in a movie where I made that decision that this is what I wanted to do for my whole life. I was 3 years old and I was seeing like kind of really realizing my first like movie. My parents took me everywhere always. So they took me to this movie and it was Black Beauty, I think. It was a Disney movie about the horse. And I remember, I think like the horse dies or something at the end. And like, I remember feeling emotionally like so sad. And I remember like looking around and seeing other people like feeling this way, this collective feeling. And I remember just wanting to be a part of that, making people feel. Yeah, no, that's what it was. Seriously, make people
have
cry,
emotion.
Like emotion, cry, laugh. Just this translation between screen and audience.
Right.
Just that moment, I remember I like begged my mom for years to get me into the business after. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Yeah. And lucky enough, I happened to get lucky.
Black Beauty. That was so sad. All of those were so sad when I was little. It's like, oh God.
Right. Yes.
Ryan, what about you? Like Where the Red Fern Grows. I'm like, ugh.
I saw Blue Velvet, and that was the one that did it for me. Because I grew up in a really small town. Working in movies wasn't something I thought that I was going to do. My dad was a photographer, so I understood the photographic process in a really basic way. But I didn't even think movies was an option for me. And then I saw Blue Velvet, probably maybe in high school. And I was like, who are these weirdos? Who made this movie? How did this movie get made? Kind of, I mean, while we're here now. And that set me off like, well, what are these jobs? How do you get these jobs? Where do these people come from? I just was assumed that you had to be born into it or live in a huge city to be a part of it. I was very naive about how any of it worked. But I saw Blue Velvet, and that kind of pushed me down the path of finding out how to be involved.
Cool. And
love that.
I actually didn't know that I wanted to be in the film industry until like, I don't know, 4-ish years ago. So I was in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I feel like film sort of like just kept coming up, but I still didn't think it could be a career. And then I saw this short film by Alma Harrell that called Jelly Wolf, and that production design and that like message that it had, it just totally blew my mind. And I was like, I want everything to do with this form of art. And then everything happened and I just fell right into it immediately after I figured that out. So yeah, that short film was amazing. And if you guys get a chance, definitely check it out. It's called Jelly Wolf by Alma Harrell.
Yeah.
Jelly Wolf. I'm going to check that out. All right, cool. Jerren,
that was also great. And it's kind of what filmmaking is all about. Is like, it's so collaborative and everyone has such different backgrounds and especially in the indie world, it's just like kind of what drives the whole thing, I guess. Like you have to be collaborative and you have to find the people that kind of work right with you. And I don't know, I just love hearing all that stuff. I did not know that about you, Meg. Kind of knew that about Brian. I think we talked about it. But so Ryan, I wanted to talk to you for a bit because obviously you've acted and been in front of the camera and big stuff. You've been behind the camera, you've produced, you've kind of done it all. So I wanted to get your take on why you like producing, why you like making indie films. I guess before we get into this, I should say that the producer of our movie, Stay Out of the Fucking Attic, it's Top Dead Center Films. Ryan acted in it along with Morgan. And then we hit it off so well that Ryan is producing films, and he brought my co-writer Jesse and I, and now we're collaborating on 2 new films that we're kind of doing together. He's also got one that he's gonna shoot fairly soon. So yeah, I mean, I guess first question for me is, Ryan, what are kind of like major lessons you learned from being on set, all these big sets, and working with Spielberg and doing TV and doing network, all that stuff, and what have you kind of taken into making indie films?
Well, I mean, that was my film school, growing up on sets. So everything. I mean, just as a young actor from, my first set, 6 years old, I was just watching the whole process and, just getting to know everyone on set, from the gaffers to, the script supervisor to wardrobe. I mean, just watching the whole process and really getting to see how it all goes down. And as it translates to indie filmmaking, I mean, indie filmmaking really to me is just, it's like it is, like what it says, it's independent. So you're doing it on your own, and using the resources you have without a studio or tons of money. So I don't know, I guess the translation really is just knowing how a film or a TV show, or just how all the things that it takes to get them made, is what you need to know to make a film independently, is how to make it and all the facets.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I know you're producing a film right now that you're hoping to shoot pretty soon. And you are, I know firsthand how much work is going into it. You're gonna do that all on your own. I guess for people watching and wanting to know how to get their stuff to producers, and so what is it about this film that's really sparked you? Why are you investing your own money, all your time, all of the stuff into this film? And then to follow it up, why me and Jesse, like after that? What kind of draws you to scripts and writers and directors and stuff?
I mean, it's probably all gonna sound like super cliche or whatnot, but like, I mean, is besides the material, obviously, is just, I like to work with people who don't have a huge ego, people that are collaborative, people that are, willing to kind of take, this thing that they've created and know that it's going to be molding and molding and molding all the way up until set, when actors get their hands on it. And so, I mean, just, for me, I like a writer or anyone that I work with just to know that, for me, the way I work, films I make, the sets that I put together, it's a huge collaborative effort where, everyone is hired because of their talents, and we trust them to do their job. And so, it's just a matter of really creating a really comfortable set where everybody can do their jobs. And, I need that kind of vibe and that kind of person that's, I don't know, just like I said, just collaborative. I don't know, collaborative and egoless, I guess. I don't know. That's a big thing for me, because I'm going to be spending a year with them. The people I'm working with right now on this film I'm producing, I'm going to be with these people for the next year, for most of them, through post-production and promoting it and all that. So,
well, they do say that across the board for, even in major studios down to indie. It's like, you have to be somebody who somebody wants to work with. You're about to invest all of your time and energy into working with this group of people. So you better have fun with it and get along, Yeah.
And I think that just makes it, and that just makes the project, better, is having that good vibe on set, so that all plays into it a lot for me. Above and beyond the material, because like I said, I mean, the material's just got to kind of have something, because like I said, it's gonna keep changing, it's gonna keep changing and getting into this final groove, and then it'll change once it goes through the edit again. So
that's the last rewrite.
Right. I mean, so you just got to be open to the collaborative process and be able to kind of let everybody do their thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what I know you and I were talking yesterday about this very thing, because it is, you will be living and breathing this film, especially in the indie world.
Forever.
Or it will be your life. Yeah, like it will be 24
It just
hours.
seems like it.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
You cannot think of anything else. Like it will be in your head. You'll be fielding questions. You will be dealing with stuff, and then you go to sleep. You will dream about the movie. You will wake up, and then you will do it again. And it's all fun, and I love it. I mean, you have to love it, but that's the thing,
Right.
is, especially in the indie world, like it is it's all consuming, and something I wanted to say is also it will shake your confidence. I as a first time filmmaker, I was going in being like, I've got you fabulous people. I had Brian with me, like I knew what I was doing. It will shake your confidence, like it very much so.
You will be tested.
You will be tested. But I do want to say to everyone watching, like, if I could do it, you could do it. I know Felicity and I at the ISA talk to a lot of you, and we know the industry itself, especially at the studio level, kind of thrives on shaking your confidence, right? So it will happen, but you can do it. I did it, so I know. And now I have these beautiful relationships with all of you, and we have a finished film getting distribution. So it is worth it. Ryan, what else was I wanting to ask you? Shayna, did you have another question for Ryan?
So Ryan, when you're looking at scripts, besides just having that, like whatever the story is that resonates with you, what advice do you have for writers in terms of if they are reaching out to producers or people like you, like what do they send you? Do they send you just a log line? Do they send you a full synopsis, a full script? Like what pulls you in, or what's the best way to approach somebody like you?
Yeah, I mean, I get all types of submissions. Some are just log lines, some are just synopsises, some are just the script, some are all three all together, some have lookbooks. I particularly like a lookbook because within the lookbook you get the synopsis, the tagline. Usually within them you'll get a sense of what the tone and the look will be, a breakdown of like the characters. I can get a real sense of the project through a lookbook. So I would suggest any writer that is doing something like that. I mean, when I write as well, or if I'm developing something, I just make a lookbook anyways to help write. And ultimately it kind of turns into what the final kind of downsized, concise version of all of that is. So that's what usually I like to see.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, that's we had our shared manager, Matt Prater, on doing one of these, and he was talking about lookbooks. That's what writers got to get used to.
Yeah, and if you're confused, lookbook and pitch deck are used sort of like interchangeably. It depends on the person.
Right, or
yeah.
EPK or something.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
It's a visual
those
summary with it. You include your logline and your synopsis and character breakdowns and, some of what and it should represent what your tone of the script is. And yeah.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, so to get into funding of the film and how this webinar is specific about how to write to attract financiers and write the kind of things that producers and financiers at this level want to see. So we, through querying through various people, met with the Top Dead Center people. I have a co-writer named Jesse. They had looked at one of our scripts. It's probably like $1 million plus, like a $3 million movie, and gave us a call. And we're like, we love the voice. It's just too big, especially for a first-time filmmaker. And we're like, dang. So we met this guy Jay Goldberg through the ISA, who has a lot of links in the horror world, and we decided to collaborate on something that would be small enough and would be still have our voice that people responded to. That production company, Top Dead Center, there's a lot of production companies doing this now, I think, where they have money to produce 2 or 3 films as like a package. And they take that was one thing. We made the movie, then Ryan approached us separately, Jesse and I, and was like, I want to make a movie this year. We're gonna do it. And he it was really cool because he collaborated with us on what the right ideas were to pursue. And that'll happen because we said yes to this movie. That's the point. I think what Ryan's really good at is he has his money and he has what he wants to do, and he's going to do it. There's a lot of producers out there that are going to say, yeah, I'm producing stuff. Let's look at material. And then it never goes anywhere. You want to target people that are making stuff now. And when you get an offer, say yes, because you will get something made. Obviously, you need to vet and make sure it's the right whatever, but you need to say yes. I've seen firsthand a lot of people kind of waver, kind of go, well, I think I could get more, or I think this person wants to develop more, and then it never happens. I've seen that with Ryan, with people, I've seen it firsthand with friends. I don't know, can you speak on that, Ryan? Does that happen a lot to you? Do you see people kind of miss out on opportunities because they're waiting for more or wanting to, something different?
I definitely seen that. Yeah, definitely. Not too much because the people around me, I mean, what I project and what I preach and what I tell and what I'm radiating is no, like, do stuff. I mean, that's what indie is. It's like, go get it made. Like, yeah. I mean, for me, everything, like, anything that I've produced or written or directed, it's all been geared towards indie, something that I can actually go make. And that's the stuff that I look at right now too. I go, well, I know what my, my investment group looks like, my pool of investment and how much they can afford, and what can I actually go ask and get?
Yeah.
Right now, like what can I go shoot this like in a few months? What can I actually really go do? It's not going to be Iron Man 3. It's not going to be Star Wars. It's not going to be this crazy high concept thing. But what I can put together is something based on my research or on my resources. The people I know, the locations I have, things like that. So I guess always what I'm looking for is like, when I look at it, what can I actually go get made now?
Yeah.
And I never rely on a studio. That's just never been, I don't know that world. I don't know what, 10 million, 20 million, $30 million type. I mean, even that's small for like a studio thing, but like, I'm in that 5 and under range right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into some of my tips for writing a script that will attract these producers. This is very studied. These tips come from, like, I studied a lot of the spec scripts that were selling. I studied what low budget and mid-budget producers were buying, and we implemented all of those things, and it worked. Like, it worked pretty fast. And so that's what I wanted to get across. I would like Ryan especially, but any of you who want to jump in for any of these tips and talk about them at all. But I'm just going to jump in so we can get through them. My number one tip goes along with exactly with what you're just saying, Ryan, is what low budget actually means. And we see a lot of scripts. I see a lot of people that go, oh, can you get this script to this producer? And I say, sure, like it fits this budget range. And they say, yeah. And I open it up, and within 12 pages, there's already 16 locations. It's at a school. There's a ton of you can't do that with this. If you're shooting for $250,000, $500,000, you gotta know what actually goes into that. That leads me to my next tip. When we decided to make this movie or to write the script to get it made, we said that we are making this movie no matter what. That's what Ryan was just saying. What that means was we were ready and willing to shoot it on an iPhone. I think Steven Soderbergh's High Flying Bird had just come out. He shot that on an iPhone. And we said, well, we're going to write this script that we want to shop. We have people to get it to, but if not, we're just going to make it. And I think writing from that perspective, it does something to you where you can focus in and you know what you can and can't do. So I think you need to really write as if you're going to make it. The other thing that does is when you go to producers, or you get a producer interested, and they look at the script and they say, well, what's going on with this? And you say, we're making this movie. Hop on board if you want. It's so much more appealing than going to them hat in hand, being like, please give me money. You don't know me. I'm a first-time director. So that's just like kind of my biggest tip is that's what we did. We wrote this script and we said, we're making this. We had Top Dead Center interested, a couple other production companies interested, but Top Dead Center was like, great, we feel the same. We want to make this movie right away. We'll let you guys direct. Let's do it. And it happened fast. But we definitely approached it as we wrote it as if we were going to make it, and we approached them as saying we're going to make this movie.
I thought that was an important distinction too, knowing where your money's going to go, because I think there's a misconception on what the hardest part of getting a movie made is, which is a lot of times goes back to like technical stuff, cameras, stuff like that. But understanding when you write stuff, like you said, the example of a school filled with people, that's a huge expense as opposed to getting a camera. I mean, you can get a camera anywhere, like you said, an iPhone. But when you're writing stuff, knowing what are the expensive things and locations and the people to fill those locations are vastly more important, good locations, than the equipment to photograph it.
Exactly. Yeah. That was ties right in my number 3. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to throw this out there in case anyone had a question about this. Does attaching a certain person, maybe with a certain type of name, help you to get access or better financing?
It does. We will get to that. That's my last tip.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's a good point. It's a good point, Morgan. So number 3 goes with locations. As much as you can be, in general, your script setting, be location agnostic, which means our script is about a bunch of movers, ex-con movers. They go, their new client, they find out, is happens to be performing Nazi experiments in his house. We intentionally made it that it could be any town USA, because this Nazi has been on the run and is living kind of amongst us. It's about hate living amongst us. But because we did that, we were able to shoot it kind of anywhere that this house would exist. We shot it in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's huge tax incentives there. There's amazing cast and crew there, like Meg. They have a huge thriving film community there. But unless you're going to a producer that has a location already, which Ryan does, as much as you can be location agnostic, because producers are going to go like, well, I really like this script. However, I can't shoot it in LA right now. It's just too expensive. That's a big tip. Number 4, this comes from working on the ISA side of things too. I know the adage is 120 pages is you should be your script. I think that's actually kind of old fashioned now. 90 pages or less, I would say, for indie films.
Yeah.
That's what I've got in my hand right now. 90 pages. That's a sweet number.
Give or take, obviously.
Yeah.
But you got to be ruthless. The script we sold, I think, was 84 pages, and then it kind of, through rewrites and development, went up to 87, down to 82, all that stuff. But under 90 pages, because I'm telling you, like, executives, even us at the ISA, you open a script, it's over 100 pages. It already sets kind of an example. Okay, you really got to earn that over 100 pages. So producers, that's already in their head. That's one knock against you. So 90 pages or less. Number 6 tip. I think this was a Vince Gilligan coined this term, but I'm not sure, is schmuckbait. Don't schmuckbait, which means when we know what's going to happen, what we're all waiting for, the character turn by Act 3, and then you're just kind of going through the motions to get to that point, don't do that. Try that turn that's going to happen in Act 3, try that at the end of Act 1. Not only will it give your script some pace, but I guarantee if you're in your head going like, how am I going to write out of this? That means everyone that's reading it is also thinking, how are they going to get it? They're invested. So don't schmuck bait. We took great care to set up the characters as much as possible, but once stuff starts happening, it goes. I think, right, guys? Like in our script?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It go, and I think that's what everyone kind of responded to was like, once it happens, it goes. And there's no, we had to write ourselves out of some corners. But definitely producers that talk to us responded to that. My last tip, which leads into everyone else here, character. We wrote a horror film. And we thought we had a hook, and we used all these rules, but still all that mattered in the end is character. That's what the producers that bought it initially said. We're just like, you got some interesting characters here. It's when everyone that read it and worked on it, we got people to do stuff that we normally wouldn't get, like Brian, and they all responded to the characters. It's how we got the actors we got, like Morgan and Ryan. Michael Flynn, who plays our bad guy, it's kind of legendary in Utah. He responded to more than that, though, more than the script and getting people interested in the characters and getting your actors. It's what everything flowed out of in pre-production and on set. So working with Meg, we said that all the production design would come from character. What would this character's place look like? How the costume design is? What would this character? What's his past? All that stuff. What's her past? It also just helps so much while working with the actors. You got to know the characters. It's got to be on the page, and then you got to know them inside and out. What's off the page too. So that was a lot. Sorry to go through all that. It's one huge chunk. But I kind of wanted to branch off and talk to all you guys then about how you work from the script and kind of how you get invested in the project, and then how we all work together from the script. I don't know, Shayna, did you want to jump in or add anything there?
I'm on mute.
Yeah.
Let's start with once you finished your script and you knew that you guys were going to go make it, and you were like, we're doing this no matter what. Some people have been asking, like, okay, you didn't have a manager yet, right? So
Right.
like where did you guys go to look for somebody who was going to give money? Like, how did you find financiers?
We were querying, and we got Top Dead Center interested in a previous script of ours, but like I said, they thought it was too big, but they liked the voice. So we wrote this intentionally with them in mind, and with Jay Goldberg, who knew them as well. And then Jay Goldberg knew some other production companies too. So we lucked out in that because we made it small, we made it a one location thing, and we followed all those rules, I think is why a lot of people were interested. We were ready to make it ourselves, but we finished our draft on a Sunday, and by Tuesday, Top Dead Center had bought it. And that's because they had already known our previous work just through querying. And then the other production companies were interested too, but were kind of like maybe wanting to develop more and all that stuff. So we just said, no, we want to make it.
And then what advice do you have for writers who don't know where to start in terms of like finding someone to query?
ISA, honestly, like getting it to us at the ISA, querying came from literally working our way up for several years of meeting people. And when I say meeting people, I mean actually like forging friendships. I think a lot of people say connections are everything and networking is everything and stuff, which is true. I'm not someone that just is good at networking and being like, hey, take a look at this and whatever. Like it take a long time because I was into forging relationships with people and then having those grow into something. So
I think that's a good thing for everybody too. It's like networking is one thing, but like creating relationships, and just because someone doesn't work with you immediately, if you like that person, be friends with that person. And then because their opportunities then could become your opportunities, or you could recommend somebody to them. I mean, that's all that we do is just go, hey, do you know any designers? Do you know any producers? Do you know any cinematographers? Do you know any actors that are good? And that's really where it starts. So just start forming relationships. And for querying, I mean, you got to have IMDb Pro. There's ways that you just have to research. Like, sorry, you just have to sit down and research.
It's a lot of work.
Find movies you like, find out who made them, figure out how to get a hold of that producer or whoever was in it, and just start going and realize that you're going to get a reply 1 out of 100. And that's the same for, all of you guys in every field that you're working in, right? I mean, it's just about continuing to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of work. And that's why I'm just saying, say yes when you get an offer. Because I guarantee if you're getting an offer, there's other people that are going to be interested too. And you got to weigh that out, but just take what's in front of you, for people that are going to put money down and make it. Because,
especially for first timers, that's, you'll be a first timer until you actually pull the trigger and go get it made, and release any kind of insecurities you have about it, and just kind of, I mean, that's the way things get made. You kind of got to let it go and get it out there, and be willing to say yes, and not go, oh, I'm gonna wait for this or wait for that. Go with the person who's actually going to go make it. Not
Yep.
someone who's going to have it sit on their shelf, or option it for a year, and get someone who actually wants to make it and go with it.
Yeah. So again, those tips are all for people that will make it, and they do. I trust me, if you follow those tips, they will respond to that writing. That's taken from being able to work for the ISA and see what producers are buying, and also just being on the other side of things, and being in the trenches and getting stuff made. So to transition into how you guys work from the script, who did you want to talk to first, Shayna? You want to go with Brian?
Yeah, let's go with Brian, because is that the first person that after you find your big producers, you find your cinematographer, correct? How did you find Brian, and how do you guys start in the process from the script?
So I will say we found Brian because Jay Goldberg, I think, reached out to a bunch of people in the horror community. We had reached out to several DPs, and Brian, I had a conversation with him, and I'll let him take it from there.
Yeah, Jerren gave me a call, Jay. They sent me the script, and I read it, and like Jerren was saying, I thought that the characters were funny. And I read a lot of scripts. I get sent a lot of scripts. Sometimes they just want my opinion about it. Sometimes there are things that they're trying to find funding for that they haven't gotten yet. And sometimes there are things that are actually going to go. And I thought the characters were funny. Like when it starts out, they had personality, and I could tell who was who pretty quickly. And when I first read through a script, I usually try not to think about the technicalities of making the movie. I just read through it just to try and whether I enjoy it or not. And then after that, I went back through and started thinking about the logistics, and we talked more about it. And Jerren and I just got along, and I think that's also no matter what. I mean, sometimes you don't work for people that you get along with that perfectly, but I try to avoid that as much as possible. And I've been lucky that I've mostly worked with people that I really like a lot. And Jerren and I just got along right off the bat, so that's how it kind of got started.
Brian, do you ever feel like, you said you get sent a lot of scripts. Mm-hmm. So do you ever get approached by writers or people that in the industry who want your help figuring out maybe like what the budget would be from your angle?
I can't recall specifically that. No, I do get questions where people will try to dumb things down sometimes because they think it'll be too hard. They'll write things in, and they'll go, well, I don't know how we're going to do this, or they'll think it's going to be expensive to do. And then you look at it and you realize, and you can advise them, well, that's not actually hard to do. Or this other thing is going to be hard to do. Like some visual effects are incredibly easy. I mean, you can do them at home almost. But then doing a driving shot might be more complicated depending on where it's at, or who's in the car, or what's happening in the car. There's little things like that sometimes are more difficult, or sometimes things that seem difficult on the page that are actually easy. So my advice with the writers is not to try and write out things that they think are hard until they get someone else's opinion about it.
Yeah, Brian was pretty integral in helping with a lot of those things. And, I should also have started, we wrote this to be $250,000. It was more than that. And I honestly don't know the actual final number, but it was more than that. Because of some of those effects and stuff, and because of certain things, prosthetics and blah, blah, blah. But Brian was integral in doing things that we thought we were literally writing to be easy and turned out to be a little more complicated in the end. But Brian had done some of this stuff before or had worked on bigger things that had done that, and he knew exactly how to do it. That was integral in helping sell him also to the production company, because we said, well, we want to go with Brian, and they looked at his stuff and we're like, great. But also on set and helping the production get through a lot of things. Brian was pretty integral at.
I really strive to make sure that directors can do what they want to do, and that writers don't have to skirt around things they don't think are possible. I like Jerren was saying, there's obvious things that you want to stay in, like not have tons of locations, or think about the locations that you have, like what it takes to fill it, how hard is it going to get, how much is it an expensive place or not. But I think if you start censoring yourself while you're writing it, you're ultimately never going to push it to a point where you're doing new things. You're just playing it safe the whole time.
Yeah. To answer your question about how what our first meeting, we talked, and Brian had brought up actually Jacob's Ladder. He said, "Oh, it reminded me of Jacob's Ladder." And that was not in my mind at all when we wrote it, but influences sometimes are not in your mind. And what he said was that it was the way it was Jacob's Ladder was shot was something off from frame one, and that was so interesting to me that I knew Brian would be a good collaborator. It's actually weird to think about that. Like we have Brian's such a good friend now that like we only met making this movie, and
yeah,
it's what I talked about. Just making friends in the industry is, especially in the indie filmmaking side of things. It's so, I don't know, important and integral, I think, to me.
Yeah, that was one of the most important things. When I first heard the phrase networking, I was like, that sounds gross. I don't want to do that. It sounded phony, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't like that. But then I realized really that networking is meeting people that like what you like and and are excited about making things. So if you surround yourself with that, you're going to be doing cool stuff and potentially not having to work with that many jerks. So I had to readjust with that. So like when we started, Jerren and I got along, and that was one of the big reasons that I wanted to do it. And then, like you said, we've maintained our friendship through production, and then now.
Yeah, and hoping to work together again soon too. Meg, the production designer. Hi, Meg. And her whole team. I think very eye-opening to me was how much the director of photography and that whole department, gaffers, all that stuff, and production design team go hand in hand on these films, and especially on the indie level. We really lucked out. Meg already knows this. Scoring Meg, and then her whole team that she brought on.
Yeah.
I was blown away when we got Meg.
Yeah. She went above and beyond. But Meg, how do you work from the script? Let's talk about that. So you got the script, and then kind of what are your first things that you do, and how you approach your whole job?
Okay, so when I get the script, I kind of do the same thing as Brian. I'll read it over, but it's actually kind of hard for me to not like already want to dissect it, because I'll just get so excited already about what's happening, and I'm like, oh my god, what does this look like? What's this look like? Like, what are we looking at here? And so I'll read it, and then I just, no joke, just dissect it so much. Like in the visual department, and I read all the dialogue, and I read all the screen, everything, and like break every single thing down to props, even though I know I'm gonna hand props off to someone else. Like, break it down from props, break it down from set dressing, that's gonna be set dressing on the day of shooting, break it down to like each room, each location, what's going to be happening in that location, what sort of vibe is going on in that location. And like, honestly, it's just so many lists of so many things, like stuff I gotta buy, stuff I gotta make, stuff I gotta have someone else make, stuff, you know. And then like you and I and Brian, we talked almost every day for like a couple weeks, for an hour or two a day, like, or an hour or two every other day.
Yeah.
And that is a huge help. Like after doing the dissection, like obviously a million questions come with all of that as well. It's like that I want to clarify with you, Jerren, or the director, and with the DP as well, because it's like we were talking about before, it's so much collaboration with so many people on set, but like definitely with the DP and the director for me, because yeah, like I want your feedback. I want your guys' creative input, because that is something that inspires me more than almost anything. Being able to like fulfill your PW, fulfill your perfect world, it fulfills mine as well, you know?
PW?
I know, that's
PW,
cute.
perfect world.
So what are some things from this, like, have you worked from scripts that didn't, that were hard to work from? Like, what are some things that, for writers writing to, you know, get their stuff made? What would you advise them to put in the script that would help on the production side of things without, you know, but while still feeling organic?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like definitely in Act 1, obviously, if you're a writer, I would hope that you would know this, that letting us know, or for it's when I'm reading the script, like if I don't get a lot of description in Act 1 about what things look like, or what, you know, where are they? What is this world? Like, so vague when they're writing a location in the screen. And like it helps a lot to have more description. And it doesn't have to be exactly what it looks like. Obviously, we got to leave room for creativity, but like just being descriptive with very descriptive words about what the vibe of the location is. You know, what are the characters doing there?
Yeah.
Why are they there? You know, like, what's the point of this location? Why are we here?
Yeah.
And what does it look like? Because that is like, I think about all that stuff when I'm doing the dissection as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. You gotta interrogate.
Doing.
Yeah, you gotta interrogate that stuff as you're writing it. It has to all be worked out in the writing, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you were saying with character in the very beginning, like each you have your physical characters, your humans that are going to be the story, but like locations are also equally as big of a character.
Yeah.
And locations, you know, in production design world too, like I get to make my own characters, or our characters, their worlds, and that's a whole character in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially doing a one location thing. That's one of the tenets of horror, is like the one location, whatever, in a house. We worked hard in the script to make the house stand out as something that could be menacing and scary and interesting right from the get-go. And you took that and ran with it. You made it interesting right from the get-go.
What was really fun about the way that you guys wrote the script too, it's like we had our one location, but each room that we were in kind of had to have its own character as well, because it's almost like our main character went into these certain rooms, or that he had these certain rooms for certain parts of his life, and they were like just parts of his character. So it was like it was cool to dissect that. It was cool to create those worlds within our one cohesive world.
Right. I would love to talk more about this, but I want to get to the actors too, because we got acting for the characters. We talked about it. Morgan, specifically, I want to talk to you about you were, you know, your character had so much humor on the page, and you brought that for sure to the movie. But as we worked through the tone of the film, you know, the humor started to feel like it was contrasting too much with the tone. So we were kind of correcting as we went, which happens on every movie.
Right.
But I wanted to talk to you about that process, because you nailed it. Like,
thank you.
But we didn't really talk about it as it was happening. We just kind of talked through it and worked on it. But like, I mean, how was that for you? Like, from beginning of what you brought on and it changing kind of a bit throughout, is that typical for what you do, or was that kind of singular to this movie?
No, definitely typical, you know, to what happens sometimes depending on where the feel of the scene is going. So first and foremost, like understanding who Amani is to me, or who she was to me, like doing all the work to break her down. I mean, how she walked, how she sounded, her little like quirks and all of those different things, and really understanding her background and what I designed her background to be, and where she was coming from and her thought process. For you, when you brought that out, you brought out a lot of that within the character that I was able to play with her. And it was just like when things started to go different ways and you needed, like you said, the tone to change, I knew who she was so well that it just flowed so easily for me. But it does happen a lot of the times, because a lot of times, you know, like Meg was saying, we want to be able to give your vision. You know what I mean? So if things start to move and things start to change and tone starts to change, we want to be able to, like, that's my job. I want to have so much fun in how I create the character, but also how I collaborate, you know, with you. And so when those things started to change, I'm like, I know how Imani would feel in this moment, because I know who she is and how she would be. And so to be honest with you, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was so fun to do the unexpected. You know what I mean? Once we got there.
Yeah.
To that.
Welcome back, Ryan.
I know. Ryan has been like dropping the book, coming back, like.
So I had to get some more orange juice.
That's all right.
Ran out of OJ.
So for both of you actors, I mean, what are you looking for in these in scripts outside of just wanting to work and wanting a part? What is it about scripts that come to you that attract you to them? And these kinds of indie films, what is the stuff that you most are kind of specifically looking for that can get? Actually, you brought this question up earlier, Morgan. Does attracting a name? Yes, absolutely. At a certain level, Ryan and I were talking about this yesterday too. At a certain level, that can help pre-sale a movie. But that's only at a certain level. You always obviously want a name. But I think it's getting someone like Ryan was great because of his history and stuff. And that allowed us to get someone like you also, who is like, has this other stuff. I mean, like both of you coming on was just like, oh man, this it like elevated the movie. And then but that having you two allowed us to then, we cast some people out of Utah and stuff. So I think that's how it helps is, but in terms of what writers can do in their scripts to get people like you, what is it that you guys are kind of looking for in scripts that would attract you to do an indie film like this?
For me, it's something that is totally out of the box from the norm of what I would get cast in. I feel like doing indie work is so much fun because you get the opportunity to play something that, most casting directors or most directors would not see you in playing the character. So when I read the script for, the script, and then I saw Imani, I was just like, okay, this woman is amazing, and she has some things that I can tap into, but some things that I was gonna have to stretch myself in order to bring. And that, for an actor, in my opinion, makes it just so much fun to play when it is a smidge different from you, and you have to search and be vulnerable to find those things to, bring out the best within that character. And that was like one of the funnest auditions that I had, because I was like, there's no rules. Like, I'm going to just go all in for Imani and see what comes out of it. And then what we did on set was just like magical. So for me, it's always something that is outside of the norm of what I would normally play.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. Yeah.
Yep.
Ryan?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm just looking for a good time.
You had a good time.
I mean, honestly, like that, making movies is fun. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I look at the role and I go, God, is this going to be fun or not?
Yeah.
Is where I'm going to be any fun? Like, are the people I'm going to be working with any fun? Like, I do this because I love it. It's like, I don't tell anyone, but I would do this shit for free. Like, it's just fun. So when I look at a role or a movie or a script, as far as from an actor's perspective, obviously at the end of the day, I will look into the role as far as the character and the script and the meanings and all that good stuff. But really is like, how much fun am I going to have with this role, this character, the things that I'm going to be doing? You know, they're like, don't even get to me talking about, you know, stay out of the attic. Like, I'm looking at the stuff that I'm doing in there. I'm just like, yeah, I'm in. What do you mean?
Right. That's another good tip. It's just, well, I mean, the tip is to write something that actors are going to be attracted to, right? Whether it's fun or wild or different, whatever. Like that's the tip. While Shannon's looking at some questions, I didn't know he was tuning in, but Gary Auerbach, who was the executive producer on our film in Top Dead Center Films, is on the chats.
Hey, Gary.
Hi, Gary, and Julie, if you're watching.
And Julie.
They gave me a shot. They funded the whole thing. If you're looking to make some horror thriller stuff, reach out to them. We're making 10 to 12 a year. Hi, everyone. 10 to 12 a year. So make sure your script is in good shape and it's tight and it's ready to go. And go over to Top Dead Center Films. If he wants to put his email, he can do that too. Or you can email me and I'll connect you. Everyone that's on here, Jerren at Network ISA. But they're doing stuff. So reach out because that's what I said. They're making stuff. They are actually, you know, putting money down and getting stuff made, which is where you want to be at. So hi, Gary, Julie, thanks. Yeah, so let's take a couple questions because and thank you guys for doing this so much. I'm sorry, like I wish I could talk to you guys forever. Just we run out of time so fast.
If you want to pitch a script, how do you figure out what your budget range is, or is that your responsibility? And if it's too complicated for a first timer, who do you hire to figure out what the budget range is?
Yeah, very good question. You need a line producer, really, or someone to break all that stuff down. I had no experience doing that. We were kind of going off of what people told us and just heavy research. There's a lot of ways to, like talking to someone like Brian, reaching out to people like that, getting those people interested.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different breakdowns. I mean, you have to know what you're trying to make too, because a hospital drama can be made for $100,000 or it can be $10 billion. I mean, I've seen really weird line producing breakdowns where I don't think that they understand what the tone or what the filmmakers are trying to achieve. So they give you a random number that doesn't really reflect what you could do if you started pulling all your resources. So I think that's important too to think about when you're trying to put that number together.
For sure. Ryan, you're going through it right now.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, you kind of want to just, you reach out kind of like, I mean, I'm trying to like think of this from a perspective of somebody who doesn't have connections and doesn't have a line producer, doesn't have the resources. I think when you're trying to figure out how much your script is going to cost to get made, I think it's, again, reaching out to someone, if you can. Again, this is where query and just reaching out to people in the industry, like Brian. So, hey, Brian, here's the script. How much would a camera package going to be? Like, what would you need to shoot this, and how much would that cost? A location. Simply call somebody up. Hey, how much is it to shoot for the day at this person's house or this whatever it is? How much is it per? Just really making calls according to yourself. I mean, you can kind of reach out to people. An actor, maybe an actor, how much would you work for 2 weeks of work?
All the people want you to call them. Camera houses want to give you a quote. Locations want to give you a quote. They want you to call them, so call them. You can be your own line producer.
Go ahead, Brian, please.
Well, no, I was gonna say, and that's good to know, is like being your own line producer. It's really good to know all the facets of how things get done. So, doing a little homework yourself is just only benefiting you. So.
Yeah, that goes back to my number one tip, which is like write the script like you're gonna make it, and then like you were gonna make it. Like you have to make those calls. You have to, and then you have to go, shit, you know what, we can't do this thing.
Well, and that will help you write, is knowing what things actually cost.
Exactly.
So you can actually go, what is a number that I feel I can go actually out and get? Like my first whatever I'm going to go shoot. Is it 100,000? Is it 200,000? And then kind of formulating to that number as you're writing. Being conscious of that, because that is something that a number like 200,000 to go. You can go get that probably a lot easier than you can go get 2 million or 20 million. So
Exactly. Because people want to make movies. And if you write to a budget range that is makeable, you just follow those tips and it's doable. Anyway.
And is there a genre that you guys feel like if you're somebody who, wants to go get their film made, is horror the place to start? Or, I mean, it seems like it lends itself to small, small group of cast, one location, like you can get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of like doing something small. But do you think that horror is somewhere that everyone has to start, or can you go make a comedy or a drama or something?
Yeah, for sure. As long as you have a creative way in and a voice and an angle, any of those horror is just a marketable genre, and it's getting more marketable internationally. And it's also a genre that's very pliable, so you can do things that you're angry about or thinking about in the world and project those through creatures or, a supernatural element or something. That's why that's such a good genre to do, because the genre itself is marketable. So you can do presumably low budget for a high return. But no, at the ISA, we get producers looking for all sorts of stuff at all budget ranges. I think comedy is also very marketable. You just got to have a voice, that's what it's all about. Is you got to have a take on something to get people's attention, to stand out. If you're doing a comedy where it's just like 4 people in an apartment, probably not going to stand out,
Meg will watch it.
Unless it's Seinfeld.
I'll watch it.
True.
I was wrong.
All you need is a show about nothing.
That's right. Put cute clothes on.
Ryan, what do you think? Ryan, the one you're working on is not a horror.
No, it's not. Yeah. Horror is a good place to start. It just is. It's I guess cliche, and you've heard it 1,000 times because it's true. I feel like you can have some fun with it. You can tell a story with it. It's
you can try different things and be like inventive and just go there. Yeah,
you can get experimental, and I think also a lot of those. I feel like a lot of horror effects can go a long way, as opposed to like trying to have a whole building blow up. It's those effects are practical effects. Those are things that you can really go out and make and really add to a film. And again, it just has it always has a huge fan base. It's a genre that's just been going strong since just the first horror film started. And I think for any young filmmaker, it's a great place to start. I think like he was saying, just having 4 guys in an apartment chatting is, I don't know, I think you have a better shot with 4 guys trying to kill each other in apartments.
Right.
I think whatever you choose to do, it needs to be something that you really give a shit about, though. There's a lot of people who make bad horror films and nobody wants to watch them, so they end up on Amazon buried somewhere. Yeah. There's mumblecore. There's all sorts of weird small genres for people to make that aren't expensive, but I think the common denominator amongst all those that are good or have a following are the people actually cared about them when they were making them. So that's important.
That's a great point, Ryan. Yeah, passion is key, and again, it goes into like, when you're hiring your actors and your crew, it's just, getting those people that are really passionate about the project, people that are for more than just a paycheck, really somebody there that.
Yeah, because you're going to be living it for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it goes back to character. You got to have a strong hook and all that stuff, but you got to have characters. That's what people always remember from movies, is the characters. And that's what people get passionate about. That's how you attract people. That's how you attract talent, like Ryan and Morgan. And anyway, what you said, Brian.
No, that connection is everything too. Just like picking the right actors and instantly you just connect. That works. That chemistry is powerful. Yeah.
With the state of the industry right now with COVID, and also with Black Lives Matter, and everyone sort of evolving collectively, what are your guys' thoughts on projects moving forward in terms of do you think now is like a really good time to just like bust out and do the project that you really want to do? Should, you know, how are you guys feeling currently about the industry itself? Why are you laughing?
I mean, because it's just it's such the question right now, right? Like, it really is, you know, what are we doing and what is everyone doing about it? And what is the state of what we're in and what is really happening? Is it open? Are we going? Is it not? What is the protocol going to be? You know, I'm getting ready to like have auditions, and like some actresses were like, cool, yeah, no problem. Some actors were like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like so I don't know. It's a very, very interesting question you have. I've been hearing it a lot, and I don't even have an answer to it really. I mean, I'm preparing to do something right now, but I don't know. But I'm preparing, like whenever they say go, I'm gonna go, whenever that is, and whatever they say I gotta do it.
I
Meg,
feel like
you're
there's
working
gonna
right
be,
now, right?
yeah, I'm working. I'm booked out for the next couple weeks, and it sort of just happened overnight. But I feel like there's just going to be a lot of content and inspiration that will come from all these happenings.
Yeah.
Like when COVID first started, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's going to be such a splurge of end of the world, like sickness movies in like 2 years. You know, like so much happening in the world to inspire stories.
For sure.
I think from a writer's perspective, we're going to be able to hear so many other voices. And I think a lot of people have been wanting to hear so many other voices. We're going to see so many other characters and see how they connect to each other like normal, you know, in life. And so I just think we're going to see more of life in art, you know, truly represented. So
That's the best answer. Well said. Yeah, for sure. That's also the hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final advice or anything like that for?
Sure. I would also like to say, it seems like a lot of you want to have Top Dead Center on for one of these. And we'd love to have him on. I just got to, I was waiting to closer to release to the movie. But if you guys want to have financiers on and talk to them about stuff, we'd love to have it. So go ahead and comment if you want to have that happen.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, from my advice from listening to this whole thing, and a lot of people are asking the same question of like, well, how do you find people and how do you reach out and how do you, unfortunately, like we all sort of came into this game not having, you know, our uncle isn't Jerry Bruckheimer. Like we all come in the same place. You literally have to just do the work. And whatever that work is, it's research and it's reaching out and it's networking with people and it's writing something really amazing and it's finding people that are like-minded. I mean, you really just have to do the work and then create your little village. Yeah, you have to create your village of people that you love and respect and just, you know, keep going.
Yeah. I mean,
hard.
If you want to be a filmmaker, your new job is being a filmmaker. So that's what you get up and do every day.
Don't worry so much about the outcome. Just keep going, and it'll work for you. Like, as long as you don't stop, it'll work for you, you know? Yeah. And like you were saying about networking, just focus more on the relationships that you can build and like, you know, just the natural relationships that you can build and not necessarily like, what can this person give me? You know what I mean? Just keep going. Don't worry about the outcome. It'll work.
Yeah, well said.
If you're passionate, if you're passionate, you'll get what you're passionate about. If there's no way you can be passionate about not have it become your life. And if you're passionate about film, then it's your life. It will be your life. And you'll get where you need to be with it as long as you like we've said, work for it, live for it.
Yeah. You will be living it. Yeah, for sure.
Long time.
Ryan, I mean, you've had the longest history of all of us here. Like, any last big advice?
Yes, I thought of this today, that my advice would be to always be kind and always be on time. I think if you can do that, especially in this industry, I think that will take you a very, very long way. Is being on set and being kind to everyone from the PAs to the EPs, and always being on time. Trust me, you want to be on time in this industry.
Yeah. Sarah Polley, actor and director extraordinaire. She was recently doing a Q&A too, and someone asked for directing advice. She just said, someone told me once at the end of each day, make sure to thank each and every person you worked with. I made sure to do that even before reading that. Like, these people are all working so hard. It's incredible. And it's all going toward the same vision. And it all becomes all of yours, each of these movies, especially at the indie level. And so make sure, you are treating everyone kindly and as friends and coworkers.
We're all a village, all together, one family, like seriously. So
yeah.
One time I posted something and someone was like, what do you even do? Like, do you just goof off all day? And I'm like, well, because I'm working with all my friends and we can work and goof off all at the same time. And somehow we managed to make a movie, and it's
and you're like, I picked the right job, and it's success.
Exactly.
Well, so much of your work comes before the movie, before it starts filming too. Like a bulk of your, not all of your work, obviously, but bulk of your work comes before that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, you guys, all of you, I miss you guys. Love you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. We'd be happy to have you back on as the movie gets closer to release and have a more movie-centric, not like writer, all that stuff. And we'll also work to get Top Dead Center on, maybe Ryan on again, just to do a deep dive into that stuff too. Sorry, but there's just so much to talk about on these things. We run out of time fast. But thank you guys so much, and thank you all for joining and watching us.